Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we're reading When You're Bullied by me. So let's get into it. Midoriya. He could tell, just with the way you behaved. After all, he'd been there for most of his life. So seeing you act that way, all scared and sad in front of him, it hurt, because he knew how much pain you were in. How scared you must be, especially if you feel all alone enough not to ask for his help. But this time, unlike every other time before, he could help. He wouldn't just stand there and watch. He's going to help you because he cares about you and wants you to be safe. And that's what he thought about as he watched you during lunch. He had seen your bullies. They had started first by mocking you, then taking your food and throwing it on the floor. He was first recording it for evidence, wanting to show this to the teachers, so that they would be suspended or expelled. But when he saw you start to cry as one of them pulled your hair, he couldn't take it. He stopped recording and ran over to you, shoving the girl away and holding you close to him protectively. He stroked your back gently as you glared at the two girls, telling them, "Get away from my Yan, or else." Once you were away from your bullies, he held you close, murmuring words of comfort into your ear and telling you that he'll make sure that they don't bother you anymore. Bakugou, he was feeling way too many things at the same time, especially because at a point in time, he was that someone who caused you pain. He was the same, if not worse. He was someone just like that bully, who hurt people just the same way, and every time he saw you flinch, or cry because of them, or even have nightmares, you couldn't help but feel even more guilty over what he did to Izuku, and over what he couldn't help you with, because every single time he tried to help, felt like he was just a cause. Instead of trying to help, he felt like he was causing you pain, even if he wasn't. He still felt like he didn't deserve to be near you at all. And so, he had helped you. He had been there for you for as long as he could, all while trying to become a better him, trying to be a better person, and protecting you all the same. And once he had enough courage to do it, he went to Midoriya and apologized to him, as he worked harder to change himself and be the best version of himself. That way, he could get rid of the most of the guilt and finally be a better person for you too. Todoroki. He could tell when someone wasn't behaving like normal, and he could tell when someone was anxious and scared and nervous, because he'd been there. So in one day when you were having lunch, and he saw you looking around, fearful and pale, it was more than obvious that something was wrong, and he wouldn't just stand there and watch. He would help you, because you were his girlfriend, and you meant the world to him. So after finding out who your bullies were, he froze them and kept lecturing them, and threatened to freeze them to death. And he looked so utterly serious while saying it, and they looked terrified and begged for a second chance. He had recordings of them, but instead of showing them to the teachers right away, he kept them as blackmail. He would make their lives hell. That way, no one will ever dare hurt you again. Sero. and always faked being happy in front of him after coming back from your school. You two were in different schools. While he was in UA, being unsuccessful and achieving his dreams of being a hero, you were in a random high school, not even knowing what you wanted to major in, or if you even wanted to go to school at all. And he'd heard about the bullying, but not from you, no. He would never hear it from you, because whenever you came from school, you would be smiling as you told them lies about how beautiful your day was and how good everything went, when in reality, you were suffering, and you could see it, because your smile never reached your eyes. When he had went to your school and asked about you, he had found out the truth, and it hurt him so much to have been there, to have been with you every single day, and not knowing anything about it. And he shared some of the guilt, because he felt like he should have been more attentive to you, even though it wasn't entirely his fault. The next day, he spoke with you, and after you would finally agreed for him to report them, sure, he might have taken them up to the ceiling, but it was alright. It was only 2 hours after all, and it was enough for them to learn the lesson. Afterward, he had went back to you and spent the rest of the day making sure to do whatever you liked, watch movies with you and cuddle up, and eat some snacks, and it was all he needed to see that small smile on your face. Shouji, he had seen it directly as he passed by the hallway and saw the bullies taunting you. He looked very conflicted for a moment, and conflict turned to anger. He picked up the bullies by his arms and then tossed them to the ground. He then walked over to them, his shadow looming over them as you continued to lecture them about why they shouldn't hurt you or even aim to do that with anyone else. After he was done with them, he picked you up and took you home, despite the fact that school wasn't over yet. He spent the rest of the day with you, making sure you're okay. Thankfully, this hasn't been going on for too long, and you weren't too damaged by it yet. Although the damage was done, but it wasn't so bad. He had offered to take you to a therapist, but you said you felt like you were fine, and he nodded, telling you that he'd be there for you whenever you needed him, no matter what happened. He loved you so much, and he'd do anything to see you happy.